Hello, everybody. The coronavirus still has us all confined to our homes, and the date of the extension of our stay-at-home order is getting longer. So with that, we are going to bring you an episode completely corona-free after this point. I am Kyle, being joined this week by Joe, and this is the Hitting the Wall Sports Movie Spectacular. Hey everybody, thank you for joining us. As I just said, we are going to do something a little different this week. We are not going to have one of our standard podcasts. We are joined by Joe. Joe, hello.
Hey everybody, how we all doing? It's good to see you. Well, sorta.
Sorta, yeah. We are still doing our social distancing podcasting, but we are going to do an episode entirely about sports movies. That is what this is going to be about. We're going to discuss. We have several different lists that we're going to go with, and I would love to know at the end what you all think. Do you agree with Joe? Do you agree with me? Do you have lists of your own? That will be stuff we'll cover here in a little bit. But first, we have to go over the news of the day, which is unfortunate news, and Joe is going to go ahead and take care of that for us.
Yeah, so I get to be the bearer of bad news. And in case you haven't heard, guys, you know, in the season that we're in and of not getting to do the things that we normally want to do, there are still some times when a news story hits and it grabs at me. It grabs at me anyway. And today was one of those. You know, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I loved to root against the Miami Dolphins, primarily because I wasn't a Dan Marino fan.
Yeah.
But in the midst of all of that, there was one steadiness that was within the Miami Dolphins that I could get behind and I could respect, and that was Don Shula. And Coach Shula, he had left a lasting legacy there that, I mean, it's going to be hard for anyone to ever live up to. And he carried that franchise in an upstanding way. I don't know that I've ever heard a story about Coach Shula that was anything but positive about what kind of man that he was. And we found out this morning that Coach Shula passed away at the age of 90.
90.
I haven't seen these stories, Kyle, as to what the cause of death was other than just being 90.
Yeah, I think being 90 was about it. Yeah.
And so, but, you know, our thoughts and our prayers go out to his family, the players who played for him, the fans down in Miami who loved him for 3 decades.
Yeah.
And just everyone associated with Don Shula. This is a loss for us today, guys.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So I've got my Dolphins cap on today in honor of Coach Shula. Again, I never heard a bad word about the guy. Other than the fact he coached the Dolphins, and quite often in the 80s and 90s they would beat up on my Chiefs. The only time I didn't really care for him, but seemed like a class act all the way around. So the best to him and his family. So, yeah. Like I said, we're gonna do our movie spectacular. So what Joe and I are gonna go over is we've got our top 3 movies. Mm-hmm. We've got our overrated movies, underrated movies, and then our guilty pleasure movies.
Yeah.
That sound right? All right. So where do you want to start?
Right, yeah. Well, I think we should start with, well, my family pulling in behind me here, but I think we should start with guilty pleasure, Kyle.
You want to start with the guilty pleasure movies? All right. Well, you're the guest. What do you have, number 1?
We should. You know, so the way I look at a guilty pleasure is this.
Your family's totally going to run you over.
They really are. I look at guilty pleasure like this. It's a show that not a lot of people like.
Yeah.
It kind of maybe gets panned a little bit in the media, but that honestly I enjoy. So yeah. I have 3 of them, and it starts with the cinematic masterpiece that is Benchwarmers. And so if you guys haven't seen Benchwarmers, I love it. It makes me laugh. I know it's horrible and probably for most people not all that funny. But I follow it up with Over the Top.
Over the Top. I'm not familiar with that one.
You do not know Over the Top? The Top is Sylvester Stallone in an arm wrestling tournament.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so, you had to refresh my memory on that one.
Yeah, Over the Top, you turn your hat around and you cross your fingers, you just take somebody down.
Oh, goodness.
And then finally, as far as I'm concerned, this is the guiltiest of guilty pleasures in sports movies as for me, but I will watch it anytime it happens to pop on any channel that I can find.
Okay.
No Holds Barred.
Okay.
Hulk Hogan at his best. Zeus in all of his glory. No Holds Barred.
Yeah, glory is a strong word when talking about Zeus. But yes, I definitely remember No Holds Barred. It didn't fit anywhere on any of my lists because you can't really call it overrated because everyone hates it anyway. So, yeah, okay. Well, let me go with my guilty pleasure movie.
Enjoy it. So
at least one of us does.
That's right. So tell me about yours.
Okay, so let's see. Guilty pleasures, and I don't know. I mean, some people like these, but they don't really, add much. They're not going to win awards for high drama or, incredible acting. But number 3 on my list is basically the entire Major League trilogy. And I include the third one, the Scott Bakula led Back to the Minors. Yeah.
Back to the Minors.
Yes. Yeah, where they were the bees. I even include that movie.
Hey, that's not a bad show.
But the third one, of course, got panned by everyone everywhere.
But it wasn't bad.
No, I didn't think so.
The only problem I had with it, Kyle, was that they played it off like Scott Bakula was part of the first 2 movies.
Right.
Which he wasn't.
No, he was not.
Yeah.
No, but Dorn was, and Dorn was in all 3. So that's the important part.
Gotta love Corbin
Dorn. Number 2, let's see here. Number 2 on my guilty pleasure movies, I'm sure you'll remember Beyond the Mat.
Oh, Beyond the Mat.
Yeah.
All the wonder of Jake Roberts.
Beyond the Mat came out in 1999, back when pro wrestling was at maybe one of the highest points it's ever gotten to. And this was a show, a documentary, I'm sure is how they built it, just about some of the wrestlers and their day-to-day lives and their struggles outside of the ring. And it felt like that peek behind the curtain that all the fans wanted. It wasn't storyline. It was the peek behind that everyone wanted. And then lastly, on my guilty pleasure movies, I don't know why I like this movie as much as I do, but I love it. White Men Can't Jump. Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes basketball movie, again, about street ball in the mid-90s.
I will tell you that this will not be the only White Man Can't Jump stopover on our tour this year.
So it's somewhere on yours, elsewhere, shall we say.
Yes.
Not in the guilty pleasure area.
No.
Yeah.
I don't feel any guilt about appreciating White Men Can't Jump.
Fair enough. All right, so there's my 3 guilty pleasure movies. Again, the Major League Trilogy, Beyond the Mat, and White Men Can't Jump.
Yep, and I had Bench Warmers, Over the Top, and No Holds Barred.
There we go. All right. Well, we have the guilty pleasures out of the way. What's next?
Right. Why don't we talk about underrated movies? And you can start this time.
I will start with the underrated movies. My first underrated movie, and you got to stick with me on this one, was Rocky Balboa. Now, this is not the original Rocky that was up for Oscar awards. That actually won an Oscar or 2 or 3.
Best Picture, yeah.
This was the 2006 version, and it's the first time of Rocky, like, post-retirement.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, allegedly retired. He fights in this movie, but, his son has grown up. He's, retired from boxing, and he's an owner of a restaurant. And it's like the look after his boxing career. And I thought it was such a great movie.
Dude, if nothing more than that one scene.
The one scene where he's talking to his son.
He's got his kid in the road. He says, it's not about how hard you can get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
That is one of the best monologues in sports movie history.
Oh, and and what was interesting about that, and I think part of the reason it was so good was because, Sylvester Stallone in the first 2 Rocky movies, he played an integral part in writing those movies.
Yes.
And then 3, 4, and 5, he didn't. But
he just starred in them.
Do what?
He just was the star of them.
Yeah, but when Rocky Balboa came back, he took a big piece in writing that movie as well.
Yeah, and it shows.
Yeah, it does. It does. It shows to how gifted the Italian stallion actually was.
Well, and the fact that Rocky was his baby. So if anyone can write a movie about Rocky, it's going to be him because they're damn near the same person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's see. That was an underrated. One of my other underrated, and a lot of people disagree with this. I really enjoyed Mr. 3000.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about Mr. 3000.
You're not the only one.
So that was Cedric the Entertainer?
No, that was Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac.
Yeah, Bernie Mac, may he rest. A movie where he plays he was a stereotypical cocky jerk athlete. He got his 3,000 hits, which ensures you into the Baseball Hall of Fame, and he walked out on his team, and he walked out on his teammates, and this, that, and the other. Well, years after his retirement, they go back and check the record books about letting him into the Hall of Fame and find out that it was 3. He had 2,997 hits. And so as an old man, he comes out of retirement to try and get the 3 hits. I thought it was a great movie. And about how jerk face athlete can be humbled and can find a little redemption, but it was funny and I thought well done.
All right.
So, yeah, it's on an underrated list of mine. I pulled up the Rotten Tomatoes top 150 sports movies, top 150. This movie isn't even on it.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then my last one, probably because this resonates with me on a personal level, the Kurt Russell-led movie Miracle, about the 1980 U.S. men's hockey team that won the gold medal at Lake Placid. Beat the Soviets. And the big story was, the Soviets hadn't lost in forever. It was during a bit of the Cold War. But that day, the day we beat the Soviets, February 22nd, 1980, was also the day I was born. I was born the day of the Miracle on Ice. So, yeah. So that movie always resonates with me, and my daughters like it. So we watch it a lot.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. So for me, man, that's a pretty good list. Rocky Balboa, Mr. 3000, and Miracle.
You got it. Yep, so underrated.
Underrated. You ready?
Yep.
White Men Can't Jump.
Ha! There you go.
I really like that movie.
Yeah.
I think it's enjoyable. I think that, truthfully, the basketball's not bad.
No, the basketball's really good in that movie.
And the basketball is really good. And who knew Woody Harrelson, legit had hops.
Yes. Yep, he does.
Woody from Cheers could legit get up in the air.
And not his only basketball movie either.
Right. Well, he's not a tall man.
No, he's not.
No, he's like 5'8",
yeah.
5'9". So for him to get that up, he has some ups.
Yeah.
And so White Men Can't Jump is one of my favorite. I love the Rosie Perez character and her dreams of her journey to get on Jeopardy.
Yep.
Okay, so my second one is Kingpin.
Okay, Bill Murray. Yeah.
Bill Murray.
Chris Elliott.
Yep. I loved some Kingpin. Well, and Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're going to find there's a theme and underrated here. I just thought it was enjoyable. It makes me laugh.
Yeah.
It's just fun. And then and Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid is in it.
And I think Randy Quaid is a genius.
He's insane, but
but in his movies, he's just a genius.
Yes.
And then the third one is my last one is Semi-Pro.
Okay, so another Woody Harrelson basketball movie.
It is, yeah. And again, I think part of the reason that this one doesn't get its due credit is because it really isn't the best Will Ferrell sports movie. Or the one that he's most known for. It's not Talladega Nights.
It's not Talladega Nights. I was going to say, if you're going with that Blades of Glory where he's a figure skater, we would disagree.
That's a bad movie. That's
a terrible movie.
But it's not Talladega Nights. And
right.
So, and it's not that quotable, but anytime, I love like those riffraff sports leagues that almost make it.
Yeah.
And think about the ABA and all that stuff. And that was just fun. And the fighting of the bear scene. And then, and when Woody Harrelson, punches him in the jejunum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my underrated movies. Those are my underrated movies.
No, I like it. You know, the thing with White Men Can't Jump is, and I'm not really disagreeing with you, but I think Rosie Perez is what turned a lot of people off to that movie. She's relentlessly annoying in that film.
I would say something else, but I won't. So, all right, man. So we've done underrated. Now let's talk overrated, because this is where I think controversy might hit.
Okay.
Now, how about I go first on these? Are you good with that?
Or you know, we can alternate here.
Okay, so my first overrated movie.
Hit me.
Remember the Titans.
Okay. Okay.
I despised that movie. I did, partially because I if I see something that says true story, I go look up the true story.
And I bet it wasn't even close.
And it's they stretch the truth quite a bit.
Should we say loosely based on a true story?
Or in their, figuratively imagined around a true story. No, and besides, it just was corny for me. And so, I mean, I get it. It made people excited, but it was corny for me.
Okay.
And so, Remember the Titans is my first overrated movie. And yours?
I thought it was overrated. I know it was crazy popular at the time, mainly because of who starred in it and then what was also going on in the real sports world. So my number one is that movie Fever Pitch.
Oh, okay.
With Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore around the Boston Red Sox when they finally broke their curse, the curse of the Bambino. You know, they got the World Series. They had to go through the Yankees to get it. The Boston Red Sox were the hottest commodity in baseball. So that offseason, they make a romantic comedy. They put in the very, on-fire actor at the time, Jimmy Fallon. Drew Barrymore is normally a can't miss. And they make a baseball romantic comedy.
Yeah.
I thought it was garbage. I thought it was absolutely terrible.
Well, I appreciate you letting me know. I won't watch it.
Okay, if you haven't seen it, don't waste your time. I thought it was wretched. Jimmy Fallon, I'm glad he found a niche as a talk show host or a night show host, because as an actor, I think he's terrible.
Yep, I tend to agree.
Yeah. So that was my number one overrated.
Okay. Here's my next one.
Okay.
Field of Dreams.
Okay, now we're going to have to step outside.
Okay. I get it. I understand. James Earl Jones is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, in everything.
The speech he gave about baseball.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, no, set that speech aside.
This speech aside, James Earl Jones, it was phenomenal. I just couldn't get behind it.
Yeah.
I know, like, I remember, and part of this came because, like, when I was in high school when that came out. You and I were both in high school, early high school when that came out.
Yeah.
Or late middle school. I don't remember exactly, but, it was one of those things. I remember having an English teacher who showed it to talk about how do you create emotion in people.
Okay.
And like, it just didn't do that for me.
Okay.
and I was like, this is just, this is dumb. And I think it's overrated. I think in that movie, as far as sports movies go, and Kevin Costner, I think it's probably his worst.
I will disagree, and I don't know what else appears on any of your list, but by way of the least enjoyable Kevin Costner baseball movie, because let's be honest, he only ever does baseball movies, I put Field of Dreams far above For Love of the Game.
Oh, I liked For Love of the Game.
But see, all For Love of the Game is how many times can Kelly Preston cry? Because if it's not a baseball scene, it's Kelly Preston crying.
Yeah, but I was able to. We can't get into a For Love of the Game conversation too much here.
Right.
But it was the interaction between the Yankee fans and Kevin Costner.
Uh-huh.
And that stuff that was going on there. That's what got me. I don't even remember the Kelly. If you hadn't just reminded me Kelly Preston was in that movie, I wouldn't have remembered who the chick was.
It's Kelly Preston.
Hey,
Trust me.
thank you. So Field of Dreams is my second overrated movie.
Okay, let's see. My second overrated movie, and I think a lot of people might disagree with this. I really could not have cared much about Rudy.
Okay, so let's pause for just a moment
Okay.
because I did mine backwards, so I went 3, 2, and then number 1 was last.
Yeah.
So my most overrated sports movie ever was Rudy.
Okay, so we agree.
So we're on the same boat here.
Yeah, because the last scene of the movie is great, where he gets in the game and hip hip hooray. The rest of that movie is completely forgettable.
Yeah.
It was slow. It's uneventful. I mean, it did nothing for me.
I remember the scene where I don't remember who the other actors. He played Rock, Charles something or other. He played a guy in a show called Rock on TV.
No, I remember Rock, and now I'm trying to think of his Hudson. Hudson's was his last name, I think. Hudson.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, I remember him standing in the with Rudy in the bleachers explaining, "Hey, I had this opportunity, I let it get away."
Right.
That was it.
Sure.
That was it. And yeah, it was. I know it makes you feel good. You know, the little guy wins.
Yeah.
Or at least seemingly wins. And
right.
Really, that's no.
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 Okay, well, we finally have one that we agree on. So I'll throw out my last overrated. Now, based on you and I talking before this, I can tell we're going to have disagreement about this. But I really found The Wrestler in 2008 with Mickey Rourke really overrated. I watched it. I didn't care for it at all. You know, I'm a huge wrestling fan, as I'm wearing a wrestling shirt right now. I just couldn't get into that movie.
I really enjoyed The Wrestler.
Yeah. And a lot of people did.
Right. And I think that, but I could understand why you wouldn't. I mean, I really could understand why you wouldn't, because it was slow.
It was very slow.
And it depicted the people that we considered heroes when we were young in a very bad light.
Yeah, and we already know the light that they most of the time need to be painted in. Let's be honest. There's some demons running around wrestling locker rooms. We know this.
Yeah. New Jack.
I said demons, not murderers.
Oh yeah, sorry. But it just, I think for me, it was I think for me there was a little bit of that. I do like the redemption stories, and there was a little bit of that in there.
Very little though. Like even at the end of the movie, you're not like in love with this guy.
But I also think that's part of the reason why I liked it, is
because they didn't go all the way to full redemption.
Yeah, because that's not how life works.
Well,
that's why. It's not how life normally works. Okay. So, all right. Now we're kind of at this point of top 3. Now, I will tell you, and I sent you a note saying what I'd done.
Yeah.
Is I realize there are sports movies that I can absolutely respect because, man, they were really, really good.
Sure.
And there's other movies that I can absolutely respect because they were really, really good. Like, I'll give you an example. Schindler's List is a movie. It was an exceptionally well-made movie. I can get behind it. I will not watch it every time it comes on TV.
Absolutely right.
It's depressing. But it's a great movie. So I kind of differentiated between what I think are the top 3 sports movies ever made and the 3 that are just my favorite, that if they're on TV, I'm watching.
Okay.
So,
all right, well, throw me one of them.
So here's what I want to do. So I'm going to start with these are just my top 3.
Okay.
The ones that I believe are, in my opinion, are the 3 best made sports movies ever.
Okay.
And it starts with number 3 for me is Pride of the Yankees.
Now, I have not actually seen that one.
Oh, so it's the Lou Gehrig story.
Right.
Gary Cooper plays Lou Gehrig.
Okay.
And it is exceptional.
Huh.
Now, it is, it's just, I mean, you get to feel the emotion of the rise of Lou Gehrig, and then the discovery of the disease, and then this downswing. But it's the emotional arc in that movie was so good. And Gary Cooper is one of my favorite actors of all time.
Okay.
So for me, as far as I'm concerned, Pride of the Yankees is one of the top 3 sports movies ever made.
Okay. All right. Well, and see, and I didn't have time to do the 2 separate lists, so
That's okay.
Okay. So a movie that's not on my personal list, but from what I would say wouldn't be argued about too much, The Natural, the Robert Redford baseball movie, The Natural.
Okay.
I am pretty sure most people would have as one of the top 3 best overall sports movies made.
Okay.
So
it's a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So for me, the second of my top 3 that I think are just great movies. Yeah. Going back, and as much as I said I disliked Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams, Bull Durham.
Yeah.
Is in my opinion probably the second best sports movie ever made.
Okay.
I think that it told a tale of minor league in such a great way. I mean,
yes, it did.
My favorite scene was when Costner's on and he's telling the guys, he's on the bus and he's telling them about getting to the show.
Yeah.
And you just see the ache in their eyes to get there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he is elevated
because he was there.
Whole new level. Yep. Just for a cup of coffee. It didn't matter.
He was in the show for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Like I said, a cup of coffee.
Yep.
But it didn't matter.
Right.
Because now it's like instant credibility.
Right.
And then just that whole journey of watching that and the character arc, and you got to see the highs and the lows. You did.
Yeah, you really did.
Especially in the Costner in
Crash Davis.
You got to see the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
So I think it was the second best sports movie ever made.
Now, see, on my list here, and we can say both my personal and overall, I think Bull Durham's the best sports movie ever made. It is my favorite sports movie ever made. I think it's the best sports movie ever made. Okay. I love that movie, and it's one of those ones, if it's ever on TV, I don't turn the channel, and then I put it on, on my DVD all the time if I just need something. If I need sports, my default is going to Bull Durham.
Okay. Well, and then to round out my list of what I think are the best cinematic sports movies ever.
Yeah. Rocky. Yeah. And that makes total sense.
For a variety of reasons. One, honestly, he loses.
He does. Yeah.
And that but it didn't change anything.
No. Oh no, he was still the hero. Even though he took the L, he was still the man.
He got whooped.
Oh, absolutely he did. He was not the better boxer that day.
He was not.
No, and that's what I love about it.
But I remember so when I was young and I was wrestling, and we talked about this idea of you can't win everything. I didn't see Rocky until I got into middle school.
Okay.
And our coach showed us this and said, guys, you had us journey. And I remember being somewhat upset that Rocky didn't win, but also somewhat crud. He did, but he didn't. And realizing okay, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because I thought I knew what was going to happen, because truth is I saw Rocky 3 before I ever saw the first one. And so he was already the champ. So I just assumed whooped Apollo Creed in the first movie, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, and by the time we got to Rocky 3, like you had said earlier, Stallone was not writing those. He was not directing those. He was merely the actor in those. And so, even though 3 and 4 were, and even 5, were enjoyable just movies, they weren't
as good.
They weren't as good as 1.
So, but as far as I'm concerned, Rocky is the single greatest sports movie ever made.
Single greatest. Okay. So, I'll put Rocky in the top 3. I definitely got Bull Durham in the top 3. Natural. And then I put The Natural, and what was your third one?
Pride of the Yankees.
That's right. Pride of the Yankees. Okay.
Yeah. So, but now if we're just talking my favorites.
Yeah. Now let's jump over to our personal favorites.
These are our personal favorites. And for me, my third favorite movie, The Bad News Bears.
Okay. Now, see, that one almost made my overrated list.
Oh man, I laugh. Man, I will laugh until I'm in pain at that movie. I think it's great.
But you do
I
like those ragtag comedies.
do what?
You do like those ragtag
I
kind of
do.
teams. Yeah.
And I honestly even liked the new one.
I never saw the new one. I did not know.
I saw it. It wasn't as good as Walter Matthau and Tatum O'Neal, but
Yeah.
it was good. But yeah, the Bad News Bears. Oh my goodness, I loved that movie.
Right. All right. Well, go to your number 2 and your number 1, and I bet we have overlap here.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
My number 2 favorite movie is Slapshots.
Yep. Overlap. I knew that was coming. Yeah. So we've got an overlap there.
And my number 1 is Major League, the first one.
The first Major League. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. I think Slapshots is a blast.
Oh, it's so fun. It's such a fun hockey movie.
It was. What's hilarious is I almost think that's kind of why I like Semi-Pro, the basketball movie.
It had a very slapshot feel.
There was some. It was very slapshotty.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. The scene where they're on the game of the week in Semi-Pro, and they go to a commercial, and Will Ferrell yells, "Everybody hit somebody!" And they brawl. That was such a slapshot moment.
And the Hanson brothers, I love the Hanson brothers.
The real Hanson brothers, not the little teeny bopper singers.
What's hilarious is when it was in the 90s when the teeny bopper Hansons came out, right? And all I heard was this band called the Hanson Brothers was singing a song.
Right.
I gotta look these guys up. I knew they could act and skate and punch people, but they can sing. And then it was these other dudes.
So I'll have to show you sometime. I'm not going to stand up and reach it right now, but above my head on a shelf is an autographed puck for the Charlestown Chiefs, 2 out of the 3 Hanson brothers.
Nice.
Yeah, because back when we had the Kansas City Blades, 2 of the 3 Hanson brothers would still tour around and make appearances and stuff. Well, they came to a Blades game. And so, at the end of the first period, they were signing autographs. So I have a puck with an autograph of 2 of the Hanson brothers.
And as far as Major League goes, Willie Mays Hayes.
Willie Mays Hayes. Played by Wesley Snipes back when he was still a legit actor.
Right, so Willie Mays Hayes. Yep. Hit like Mays and run like Hayes.
I love Major League. Like, I didn't really know where to put Major League. I know it's not my top list, but I do love that movie. Like, I love every part of it.
If it's on, I'm watching.
Absolutely.
It's the one. It's one of those ones that I'm not changing the channel.
No.
People come in, they're going to watch Major League, whether they want to or not, because that's what I'm doing.
And sports-wise, it is one of the most quotable movies ever.
Oh, yeah.
And as a pastor, you got to hear it all the time. Whenever someone talks about Jesus. Jesus. I like him very much.
I like him very much. Yes. Yes, I hear in my head Pedro Serrano on the regular basis. Yes.
I like him very much.
You say Jesus can't hit a curveball?
Oh, God. Yep. Oh, man, that movie's so good. And back before great. Charlie Sheen lost his mind, too.
Well, yeah. Well, I think he had. We just hadn't known yet.
That might be true. All right. Well, I mean, we kind of went over most of mine. My number 1 is Bull Durham. My number 3 is Slapshot. And then the one that I've loved forever and ever, A League of Their Own.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that's definitely my top 3 favorite sports movies ever, A League of Their Own.
Gina Davis was a genius in that movie.
Oh, absolutely. And Penny Marshall directing had it. You know what? Even Madonna is good in that movie.
Oh, I know.
Madonna is good in that movie.
Say even Rosie O'Donnell.
I don't give her credit anymore.
She was good in that movie. But yeah, that was an incredible movie.
Yeah, it was. And Tom Hanks. You can't talk about the movie without talking about Tom Hanks as Jimmy Dugan. He was masterful in that role.
Yeah, and the best part about it is I still think there's a lot of people who don't realize that was like legitimately, very loosely, but it was based around a season in our world when that was like, we're sitting here today in the middle of this stuff, wondering what in the world's going to happen with sports.
Right.
You know, and at that point in time, the war was what was taking people. I mean, Teddy Ballgame was over fighting in the war.
Exactly right. Yeah, the All-American Girls Baseball League was real.
It was real.
It was a real thing.
Go and see the stuff up at Cooperstown.
Yeah. Yeah, and I desperately want to go to that. My daughters love A League of Their Own.
Oh, yeah.
I love watching it with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should love that. It's great.
Oh, they do. Yeah, we watch that movie a lot over here.
That was one of those movies that almost made like a couple of my lists. And I'm like, because I don't think it gets the credit that it's due.
It does not. No, it really doesn't. And a lot of that is because of the people cast in it, because so many, Rosie O'Donnell's kind of talked herself into a hole over the last few years. And Madonna is also, Madonna's always been out there. Gina Davis has kind of fallen off the map at times. So, yeah, it really doesn't get the love that it should. But it's an amazing movie.
It's incredible. And I think that, it's one of those movies that I as we were preparing for this, there was a lot. It was neat preparing for this, Kyle, because there were a lot of movies that popped back into my head, or that I was like, oh, it's been a while. Yeah,
definitely.
Like one that almost made my underrated list was Blue Chips.
Blue Chips would have made my guilty pleasure list.
Blue Chips is a fun movie.
It is. Yeah, very young Shaquille O'Neal.
Nick Nolte's a nut. But,
well, as a KU guy, you got to love it because Rex Chapman is in it. Rex Walters. Rex Walters. I'm sorry. Rex Walters is in it.
Rex Walters and Adonis Jordan.
Oh, okay. I guess I forgot he was in it, but yeah, he is.
Yeah, well, he didn't get called out by name, but he was on the court.
Gotcha.
I saw him.
Right.
And then the Indiana guy, Calbert Chaney.
Yeah, Calbert Chaney was definitely in it. Well, Bob Knight was even in that movie.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. So, so Blue Chips popped into my head. One of the things for guilty pleasures that almost got me was Cool Runnings.
That was on one of my lists for a while, and I scratched it off.
Because that's a good movie.
Yeah, Cool Runnings definitely gets honorable mention.
And another honorable mention for me, and I don't know where it sets with you, but it's honorable mention for me on a movie that I think was just in my top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been just outside. It would have been like number 4 or 5 was $1 Million Baby.
That was a very good movie, but not one I ever feel the need to watch again.
Right. But Clint Eastwood. Dang.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that was the beginning of a stretch for him where he just couldn't swing and miss.
No, he was on fire. He was seriously on fire.
I mean, just everything that guy did was Yardski.
Home run. Yes. Yeah, well, okay, so one last honorable mention I want to throw out there, almost in my list, and I hadn't seen it until actually very recently, The Blind Side.
Oh, I still haven't watched that.
It was amazingly good. I had delayed for years on watching that, but Sandra Bullock, so good. I barely qualify it as a sports movie. It's based around a sports person, an actual player in the NFL. But, I mean, I could watch that movie just for Sandra Bullock's performance. And even Tim McGraw, who plays the husband in it, was exceptional.
Okay. Yeah. I might have to check it out.
Yeah, no, The Blind Side is definitely worth a watch.
So I did have one other thing, and I know you said this was going to be a Corona-free episode.
Well, if you got to bring up the Corona, go ahead and pop the top.
But it's a little bit different than I think that you would have expected. Because I'm not bringing it up to gripe and moan or anything like that. Man, I think we need to take a moment and just, for me, be in awe a little bit of Laurent Duvernay-Tardif.
Oh, yes. Explain who that is. A lot of people won't know.
If you guys don't know who this is, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif was a 6th-round pick for the Kansas City Chiefs a couple years back.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive lineman from Canada.
Yep.
And he's also, while being on the Chiefs, has become a doctor.
Yeah, he's a full-blown doctor.
A full-blown doctor, medical doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to him do an interview the other day where he was interviewing – it was basically a press conference.
Yeah.
Where he was doing a press conference about the Kansas City Chiefs and about the National Football League.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in his Canadian hospital and is in the middle of the fight against the corona.
Yeah. So,
man, it blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
It just blew me away. I mean, because, we think about, okay, this is the kid. I used to laugh about how we got this Canadian doctor here. This Canadian doctor is an infectious disease guy and is fighting this stuff tooth and nail.
Yeah, he's not sitting here doing, off-season training programs. He's not getting ready for the upcoming season. He's not out celebrating the Super Bowl win. Guy is in a hospital fighting this.
He's fighting corona, guys. And once I can get back out and about and once I can figure out where to get one, I do not have a Chiefs jersey. I'm going to.
Oh, there you go. Very nice.
Because this guy deserves our respect.
Absolutely.
I mean, not that the other guys don't, because they do. I mean, you have respect until you've proven that you don't deserve it.
Correct.
But this man he deserves our respect.
Yeah.
Because he's not just fighting in the trenches; he's fighting to save the world.
Right. Okay. Well, okay. We'll allow that Corona mention.
There you go. That's I couldn't tell the story without having the Corona be part of it.
Well, sure. No, it makes sense.
But I think it's a worthwhile, just last little. That's kind of like my drop in of that's my hero for the week.
Gotcha.
I like
it. That makes sense, and yeah, he definitely deserves a shout out, even on the smallest of podcasts.
Absolutely.
Like this one.
Absolutely. Sometimes we get to see that different side of our athletes. We said it popped into my head because we were talking about how the women's baseball was because guys like Teddy Ballgame were overseas.
Right.
And I think about Pat Tillman and other guys like that who in different mechanisms they were sacrificing themselves, putting themselves at arm's risk for us.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
So
another mention is Glenn Coffey, former running back who's in the armed forces right now. So
absolutely.
Yeah, since we're kind of getting all those guys who love football or doing other things bigger than football.
Bigger than football.
Bigger than football, for sure.
So, well, man, this was fun. Thanks for letting us do this.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, maybe next time we'll do a top 5, or we'll do the same list for overall movies, not just sports.
There's going to be a lot of these that are on that list for me.
Okay,
no.
Well,
I'm totally in. I'm totally in. Guilty pleasure movies.
Yeah.
I promise you that No Holds Barred is still going to be there.
Oh, boy. Fair enough. Yeah, we ought to do that. Hey, you know what? If we're not out of this quarantine situation by your next appearance, let's talk movies.
I'm in.
Good.
I'm totally in.
Perfect.
We can do movies and television shows. I don't care.
Well, if we stay in quarantine, we'll get to the television shows.
That's right, we will.
Boy, I hope it's not 3 more months. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, Lord, I hope not.
No, that would be awful.
All right, man.
All right. Hey, thanks, everybody, for joining us here on the Sports Movie Spectacular. Appreciate it, as always. This will be on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher and all the places that you find your podcast. Go to hittingthewallpodcast.com. And, hey, we will see you guys next time. Everyone stay safe, stay at home, cover your face, cough into your elbows, do all the stuff they're telling you to do, and let's be done with this sooner rather than later. Deal?
Right. That's right, because I want to go eat tacos again soon.
Dude, oh, my goodness. Tacos and wings, I miss them terribly.
Right.
Anyway. All right. Thanks, Joe. Good night, everybody.
Later, man.
See ya.